All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
And welcome back to another episode of Toxic Masculinity. We're just a couple of crotchety old farts that have a bad habit of telling the truth and nothing but the truth. You know, we will offer up our political satire opinions and we'll offend and defend anybody and everybody. And we won't let a few facts get in the way of a good old fashioned story. We believe in America and Americans. If this is not for you, well, then I suggest that you change the channel now. We still believe in freedom of speech and will rub your face into the cow pie of reality. Without further ado, my cohort in crime is none other than the man of men, Don the Predator Fry. And I'm not sure if he's got his sidekick Quinn there with him there today.
No, she's still at home.
I tell you what, she's been missing in action for a while, and people are starting to ask about her.
I'm gonna have to bring her. The thing is, I inherited Ken's dog, so I can leave her at home because they're together. You know, if I left, I would have to bring them both. That'd be quite the circus.
Yes, there you go. So anyway, this is Dan to be Severin, Don's trusty sidekick as well. So, and Don, please introduce today's guest.
This is Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Mike Martinez, a buddy of mine for 20, 30 years.
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah, shit.
93, right around 1993, right around there.
Been a while, huh? Like the young kids, it's been a minute.
Did you say retired lieutenant?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel. Wow. I mean, what branch military?
Okay, I was Arizona Air National Guard, which is a reserve component of the Air Force. Our uniforms say United States Air Force. And I served here in Tucson at the 162nd Fighter Wing, now known as the wing, just the wing, 162nd Wing. And I served 21 years there. The majority of that was at active duty full time. And yeah.
No, it's again, it's a military. I think that I actually think more and more young people really should go into military out of high school, literally instead of going to college, because I mean, most of them, they're not mature enough in the first place. They don't have any real working experience whatsoever. They're I'll say they've spent way too much time on the old cell phone and not enough time in the real world. And again, the cell phone is nothing but that fantasy, magical, mythical world that you can somewhat say anything and everything. But in the real world, sometimes if you say some things, you might get your face smacked. Okay, so that's where
you might get arrested for it.
Yeah, well, again, all depends. If you have pink or purple hair at the time, you might be able to skate there right now. That he didn't say my pronouns or my nouns correctly or something like that.
One day girl, I'm non-bio. When the girl say you get arrested. Remember that down over there in Albuquerque? So she says, "I'm non-bi, whatever the
non-binary.
Non-binary. I'm an indigenous person.
Yeah,
and you're being a white man. Stop being a white man." She's telling the cop, "You can't arrest me because you're white." No. Well, I have anxiety, social anxiety.
You've been around here for a while. I mean, you felt like you've been here for on this planet for quite some time, and you've seen a lot of changes take place here. So what is your take? Well, I mean, I'm gonna just hit you some random questions right now. What's your take on this this new woke era that we're seeing come out?
Yeah, well, it's sometimes it's hard to make sense of, but I think people that kind of push that, I've seen that, and they seem to be of one type of mind frame, and if you don't fit into that, there's something wrong with you, and you get attacked. So, and not everyone thinks that way, and I think everyone's entitled to, how they understand things or their opinions, et cetera, et cetera. But to demand that I have that opinion, and if not, you get attacked, you get looked down upon, you get ghosted, you get
fired, you get
canceled,
canceled,
so that, and then so I don't think it's something positive at all. telling people how they have to think or how they have to vote or how they have to the things they need to be supporting, other else they make them a villain. I don't think that has anything to do with the founding of our country or the freedom that we all have. So
Right.
yeah, so I don't think it's something positive at all. And of course, you can disagree and be respectful. Even you can even disagree and be friends with people. I have friends that think opposite of I do.
Right. Right.
They're way on the liberal spectrum, and I am not. And but I don't hate them, and we can get along. And then there's some others that I have lost because they have decided if I don't think like they do, then I'm bad or whatever they label want to call it.
Right.
And it's sad when that happens, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine for 40 years, and, he's a libtard, and hell, we were on the phone with him and he yelled at me, "I don't want to argue about Trump." I never even mentioned Trump,
Yeah.
But nah, we were good friends, and
Yeah.
it does interfere, but then again, we can get over it too.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way, but some people, they just
Right.
you're if you don't believe the way they do, then you're I don't know how else to say
You're
it.
the devil.
You're the devil. What are you going to do? You just got to, be good and be yourself. And if that's people's choice, then there's not a lot we can do about it,
Right.
Just try not to let it to affect you, or because they're mad, then you get mad too. And then you're doing the same thing from the other perspective, so I don't think we have to be like that unless we decide that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
As so.
What drew you to what drew you to the military?
Okay, it's funny how I was at a parish in Midtown Tucson, and one of the parishioners that would do like the readings at mass and would help with all kinds of other stuff came to me and said, "Hey, our chaplain's going to be moving. Can you come give mass for us at least once a month until we get someone signed up?" So I did that for like 3 years, and after 3 years, he said, "Hey, would you like to join?" So then, there's no Lone Rangers in our church, so I had to go through the bishop for permission.
Yeah.
And for a while, for like a year or two, he wouldn't let me. And then finally,
Said, "Hey, nobody wants this church."
Yeah.
You gotta do it.
Yeah. So nobody. I mean, he didn't want to release someone to do it, because again, we can't go and do something like that without his permission. But he had 3 other priests before me who then wanted to go active duty instead of just reservist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, even though I eventually went active duty as well, but finally he let me, and then 21 years later I retired from them. So when I went active duty after 4 or 5 years was because here in Tucson our unit had the F-16s, we still do, but we picked up a new mission. The very first border mission, which required a full-time chaplain. So that's what in 2005 is when I went full-time. But on top of that, we picked up the Predator mission, the MQ-1, then now the MQ-9, which are the drones, So the way that works is they're in theater, wherever that is in the world. Over there, they launch them, and then we fly them from Arizona and do the mission. And then when we get back to the base, wherever the base is in the world, when it gets close, they land it over theirs, but we fly it and do the mission. So because that's also a combat mission, anyone in combat has to have full-time chaplain. So another reason I stayed full-time to be the chaplain for those guys. So, but it's basically, I was asked, there was a need. I've always been patriotic, and 21 years later, I retired. So yeah.
Wow, I mean that's quite a career right there. I mean it's
Yeah.
kind of ironic how it kind of all came together, but
Yeah.
it worked out for you. I think that's great.
Yeah,
But-
I deployed to different countries. I passed through Egypt and Kuwait, but I stayed in Saudi Arabia, deployed in a small country called Qatar or Qatar, depending. Yeah, and then when I was there, when there were wounded people, we'd do air medevac missions into Iraq, and so I've been to Balad, Baghdad, Talil, and Tikrit, where whenever there's wounded, they would ask for volunteers for the chaplains to go, and I always went down range. That was the only time I was in any danger. I had to be fully armed up, with the helmet and bulletproof vest and all that when we did those missions. But other than that, I was always pretty in a safe, you know. So
When you went to Egypt, I want to isolate that one for a
okay.
second there because that's one of those countries I like to go to, but it's only because I like to see. I like history.
Uh-huh.
And so when you think of Egypt, you think of the Sphinxes, you think of the Great Pyramids, things of that nature. Did you ever get a chance to go out there and see any of those on any of your free time or?
No, no, we didn't. Every time I went to Egypt, we were passing through, so we're getting supplies and then going somewhere else. So
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, once you're deployed somewhere like in the Middle East, you have your main base, but a lot of times, depending on your particular job, you would go downrange other places. So yeah.
And Dan wants to go to Egypt and take his shoes off and walk barefoot in all the gold, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Well, that would be nice, but I still, again, historically speaking, I
yeah,
would like to see, the Great Pyramids and the
yeah,
Sphinx because I mean those are
The old
this.
playground.
yeah.
Well, I mean, well, no, I just they're just such.
Yeah,
I don't want to call them an oddity. It's like, but people still scratch their heads to this day
yeah,
as to how did they come to be?
sure.
Where are these rock quarries that they got all these stones from, and how far away, and how were they able to move
Move
these
them
huge
exactly.
blocks of
Yeah,
rock,
I only
these
saw.
great
Yeah.
distances?
I only saw those places from the air. I wasn't on the ground with them. But one night we flew into Balad at about 3 in the morning, and one of the crew chiefs on the C-130, it's pitch black, you know, and he goes, "Hey, Father, look over there." Okay, I just is black, right? I don't know, I
Yeah.
can't see anything. And then he goes, "If it was during the day, you would see some structure about 10 miles away. You could see a structure. That's a monument where Abraham was born."
Mm.
So I wish I could have seen it, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't able to. But so I know what you're talking about there, Dan. But I only saw those kind of things from the air. I never was on the ground to see those. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
well, Don travels a great deal, and that's why I still travel a great deal, just doing seminars and speaking engagements, stuff like that. But it's usually as
yeah,
I travel, I'm always looking to try to take in something of either historic value or nature's beauty. Like
sure,
seeing stuff like Niagara Falls, seeing the falls, and it's
yeah,
there's the American side of seeing it, and there's the Canadian side seeing it, and viewing it from the Canadian side is a lot more beautiful.
yeah.
The falls are just more magical to see from that perspective. So again, that's one of the aspects I like about travel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, you want to be a policeman or a stuntman when you were a
Oh,
kid,
I did.
right?
When
Why?
I was little. Well, I remember just from from an early age, I had a lot of my relatives were in the military, right? And on both sides of the family. I mean, all these people serve and that type of thing. And a lot of my heroes growing up, of course, were like athletes or people on TV. And of course, I see John Wayne, my friend behind me.
Yeah.
Big. I'm a big John Wayne fan since I was a little kid, and then law enforcement stuff, things like that. So I when I was little, for I would say when I was 5 or 6 years old up into high school, I was thinking, well, I think I might want to be a police officer. And then also I had a dirt bike, and all growing up since I was in 6th grade on, I got a bigger bike each time from
Yeah.
my dad gave me. And I would do crazy things like you jump over my brothers on the motorcycle and all these things. And I wasn't afraid of doing that kind of stuff. So then,
Well, yeah. I mean, you were
yeah,
the one getting run over.
yeah, yeah. So I wasn't well. I'm afraid of some things, but not of that. I'm a little bit afraid of heights, but it's other than that, I'm okay. And so I was thinking about being a stuntman for up until the summer after my junior year of high school, and then that's when I started thinking about the priesthood. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, but what intrigued you about the priesthood? I mean, because again, you,
yeah.
you said after your junior year. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's because that's
Well,
kind of interesting. You're still in high school, so
sure.
you're a young buck at that point in
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah. Well, the long story short on that was basically they had a program that I was small town, born in Safford, Arizona, and we were there till 6th grade, and then we moved to a smaller town about 45 minutes northeast of there, Morenci, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Real small town, and so they had a program there for the religious ed for the church and a youth group and all that. And they had a big mass for your graduation. but you had to be in religious ed to partake in all those celebrations, right? And at that point, I wasn't in any, you know, I received all my blessings and sacraments at a much younger age, so I didn't have to go to religious ed because I had everything you need, you know, anyway, so one of my friends said, "Are you going to participate in the baccalaureate program at the end of our senior year?" And this was that summer of the junior year when he asked me, and I go, "Well, what's that about?" And he told me, in a small town, I didn't want to miss that. All my friends are there. I want to be part of it. So I started going to youth group. And when I started doing that, then I started realizing, hey, I know in my mind as a concept and idea, this idea of God, but then doing that and then, you know, praying and developing it more on the personal side, then I didn't just have the book knowledge and the concept and the idea of God, but the experiential part, you know. And then I says, well, if, you know, he's real, I got to do his will. So what is his will? Trying to determine and discern. I didn't use that word discern, but now I do. I discern what is his will. And through that, I thought it was a gradual thing. And even when I was going to the seminary college and in the graduate school, I was still discerning, but I was getting closer and closer, you know, percentage wise to say, yeah, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Right. So that's basically how that happened make it a short story. Yeah. So, and then there were some things that happened that kind of pushed me too, that I said, hey man, I think, you know, like sort of signs, so to speak, or things that would happen that kind of nudge me along the way. So I says, well, if there's a will for me, I got to figure out what it is and do it. And so that was the process. So it wasn't like a decision and then, okay, it's 100%, I'm going to go do it. It was, I think this might be it. Let me go find out, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you're young, a lot of it is simply just exploration, or like going on buying a car, or a car or truck or something like that. You got to kick the tires, check underneath the hood. You just don't know if you really want that car, that truck. Just
Sure.
like you don't know if you want that career until
Yeah.
you investigate it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
How'd you like that analogy there, Mr. Fry? Huh?
Ooh, Dan used big words.
I just thought that I thought Mr. John Wayne might give me a thumbs up there, like, oh yes, okay.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny that you say that you're, you know, that you're a John Wayne fan. I know
Oh, yeah.
Don is, and I don't think there's a single John Wayne movie that I have never seen. You know that, so it's yeah, we all fall in that same type
Sure.
of category right there for
Sure.
good old fashioned westerns, shoot 'em ups.
Yep.
Dan and John used to ride horses together, you know,
Oh.
back in grade school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they rode. That's how they got to school. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Don there, that Don, he's a rascal, isn't he? Yeah.
So how many motorcycles have you had?
Okay, my very first motorcycle, 5th or 6th grade, I had a QA50 Honda.
Yeah.
And, you know, now I don't think the tires are about this big. It's little
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned. And then I had a Honda 75 off-road bike. And then my mom had 100. I used to ride that one. It's kind of a on-road and off-road combo.
Yeah.
And then my dad had a 250. Then I rode that. And then I had my own 125. It was a dirt bike. You know, I'd jump over stuff and do all kinds of crazy things. And then nothing until my first assignment as a priest from 89 to 93 on the east side of town at a parish there. And I had a Honda Shadow. It looks like a Fat Boy Harley. It was really, back in then. Yeah. It was, you know what those are, Stan? Yeah. And so it was candy apple red for the fenders and the tank. And then the rest was chrome. Beautiful. I mean, I'd go to, you know, be stopped at a light and people start talking to me. It was really nice looking. And then after a while, I didn't ride it that much because I was so busy in my assignments. So I sold it. And then now I have a 2019. I bought it last year, but it was never sold. It had like 300 miles on it from test driving, but no one ever bought it. And I bought that in Sierra Vista. It was a Honda Fury. It looks like a chopper. I don't know if you've seen those. Yeah. I'll show you a picture later, but yeah. And the Honda Fury, that's one I have now. Street bike. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up at Yamaha Trials 80.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
those things, they didn't go fast, but they climb
They
a
can
wall.
climb. Those things
You
can
know,
climb.
yeah. And
Rocks and everything.
Yeah. They don't do too good when you hit a telephone pole at them.
No,
No,
not at all.
They don't hold up very good,
Yeah, well, okay. What drew you to motorcycles in the first place? Here, I mean,
Well,
you said how young were you when you had your first one?
in fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
Yeah,
Okay.
fourth or fifth grade. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
that's
dad,
mighty young.
yeah, my dad had them, and for Christmas one time we wake up and under the tree there it was. So and he know we liked him, so my dad rode motorcycles, off road and on road, and so he just we were raised that way. He raised us with small, rural Arizona. We did stuff like that. Since I was old enough to keep up, hunting and fishing, same thing. Doing all those things and enjoying it. And I still do all the things today. I still do all those things. Yeah.
I mean, okay at that time growing up there? Was your dad a pretty good like mechanic and stuff like that, so that you didn't have to take things anywhere? You just basically he tinkered. He knew enough about tinkering and
He did.
spark electricity and gasoline to make things run.
Yeah, he did most everything, the work on it. And then when it was something big or he didn't know, we'd take it to the shop. But they didn't break down that much. We just change the oil, do the regular maintenance, and they last a long time. So yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite animal to hunt?
Oh, my favorite. Oh gosh, it's hard to say. I would say I categorize that in many ways.
Yeah.
What tastes best to me?
Right.
I love elk meat.
Yeah.
And then it's again like with anything else, it's just Tony knows it's how you prepare it. You cut off a piece and throw it in the frying pan, it's not going to taste very good. But if we marinate it, we do all these things. Sometimes my grandfather used to have an underground barbecue pit.
Oh yeah.
Slow cook it for 8 hours. It come out, you can cut it with a spoon. It was so tender, right?
Yeah.
So it's how you prepare it. But as far as taste, I love elk meat, deer as well. And what I love to hunt is either elk or the Coos whitetails.
Yeah.
And those are really good as well. Yeah.
What about you? Tony had got a picture of a big giant hog.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Interesting. That was a Russian boar that I took my dad. It was one Christmas, and I a gun that we share, and I always buy things that we both like.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to get them back later anyway. So, that's what I tell my dad, because he asked me, why did you buy me a 45-70? It's a buffalo.
Yeah.
It's a big round. And I says, because I like it, Dad. And then he laughed. And then then it was a Christmas, and I had him a brochure for a wild boar hunting trip in March coming up.
Where at?
It was in Upper Michigan, up in near Marquette, like outside of Marquette, a little town called.
Okay, so what they refer to as the UP, Upper Peninsula.
Yeah. It was a little town outside of Marquette, not very far, called Nagani.
Yeah.
We went up there and hunted a Russian boar. And so I bought that because they suggest large caliber, you want to put those things down.
Right.
We had to sign waivers.
Don't make it mad.
Yeah. You want to sign we had to sign waivers to hunt them in case you get injured. You won't sue them. Because they will charge you. And there's video of them charging people and stuff. And if you ever seen a bite from a javelina or a wild boar, it's not a bite like a dog bite. What they have those tusks. So what they do is they stab you with the tusk and then they rip. So you'll see a whole puncture and then you'll see a rip, right? And they're right around your femoral artery in the leg. So, you could bleed out, if you could get you. So they suggest whether it's handgun or it's rifles, they suggest that you have a large caliber, you want to put them down right away. So that's why I got that. So we had a guide, and then so when my dad was hunting, he had the 45-70, and I had a 454 Casull that we owned.
Right.
And then the guide had a 450 Casull pistol as well. So we carried those. We didn't have to use them. And then when I hunted, I used the rifle, and my dad used the 454 as a backup, and it was beautiful. But that meat was so tender and so good that even the breast sausage we had made, I used the sausage for bacon or the grease from sausage or bacon for the eggs. There was no grease. That's how lean it was. Delicious. That was very good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
It was very good.
We used to go Cal Ursum, go hunting up Northern California around Williams up there. Yeah, get some good ones there.
They're big. They're huge. Too. They're huge. Yeah.
Well, your dad's
you're
yours. How'd you feel about that?
Well, yeah, he and I would tease him about his was bigger because he got to go first. So so we're backing him up as he did it. And somewhere at home, we videotape the actual last 5 minutes of those. So
how much did they weigh?
Mine was 220 plus, and my dad's was bigger, maybe 270. maybe even 3. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like a 300
But
pound.
yeah, yeah. But
Wow.
it's funny. The one my dad got, mostly when you had an animal and they're uphill, they'll run downhill because it's easier, or that's the escape route. But his ran uphill right on the road.
Really?
Yeah. So it was easy access. Mine went in all the stick stuff and whatever, and it was a pain to get him out of there. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. But that was very good. And we brought all the meat home with us on the airplane. Put it in an ice in a freezer. What do you call it? Ice chest. Then taped it up and chucked it like luggage.
Yeah.
Brought it back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I say a lot of the southern states, they're being overrun with
Oh,
hogs and or wild boars there as well. So it's I grew up on a farm, and so you name the animal, we raise them, including having pigs
mhm.
and having each spring there would be a new litter,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
and it'll come and then there's a certain time that you start taking all those piglets out, and you got to fix
Yeah.
all the boars to make them into non-boars.
Yes.
And all I know is that is a very chaotic time where I'd have to have a couple of my brothers there standing with 2x4s, because those sows, I mean, literally, they after a while they start growing tusk,
Mhm.
and when you snag one of their little piglets out by
Yeah.
legs, and you're out there and you're castrating and stuff like that, they're squealing up a storm, and those sows are trying to come up over those pins, and you're putting them down. I mean, literally, you're smacking with the 2x4 probably as hard as you possibly can. It'll knock them down, but they'll come right back at you,
Yeah.
almost twice as mean at that point.
Yeah, that's the thing about them. They might have 3 or 4 litters in a year's time frame, and even when they're 6 months to years old, they'll already start breeding. So
Yeah.
you got if you have them that you manage, you have to do that. And then imagine all the wild ones that, I read something recently in one of my hunting magazines or Guns and Ammo, or one of those magazines I have, that the $1 billion of damage they do across the nation.
Yeah.
Crops.
Yeah, for crops and land and all those things. And yeah, so
there actually are a lot of farmers that they want hunters to come on their property to take out the wild boars because of the devastation to their crops.
yes,
So
yeah, they do. Yeah, and a lot of those will let you just hunt them for free.
Yeah, we're displaying the ammo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, boy.
well, you got to tell me there, okay, Father Mike, how did you meet this crusty old fart across from me there?
Good
No,
question.
You got
okay,
lucky.
that's what I like to kind of know. I just
Prayer answer.
what kind of an unfortunate day did you have going for you
Well-
that you met this guy?
Prayer was answered.
Yeah,
Miracle.
sometime in 1993, I was stationed at a parish on the northwest side of town, and I was at the gym working out, and I ran into him, and I did a double take because I go, I know him. What? And then it hit me. Then someone said, Don, he was with some people. They were working out, doing the weightlifting part of the training. That's Don. And then, so the first time I saw him, I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to be that guy, and I don't know how much he gets bothered, and
Yeah.
I don't be the, what do you call it, fanboy. I don't want to come off that way.
Tony, yeah. Tony.
Yeah, like my cousin Tony. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. So anyway, so the second time I saw, and I told my parents, "Hey, guess who I saw?" And I told them, "My mom loves you."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, like yeah. And I says, "Hey, Don, my mom loves you." I didn't say I liked him. He's one of my favorite fighters as well. I didn't get to say that. I don't want to again be that guy, but. And he goes, "Oh, she want a picture?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, I'll get one." And next time I saw you, it was a black and white.
Yeah.
And you had that Don look, like the look that people are going to turn away from because the way you mean you mean business if you're really looking at someone that way, and I think you're standing with the pose or whatever, and you signed it, and I took it to her, and she was in heaven, right? And then ever since then, every time I saw him, "Hey, how you doing?" Then we started talking, and then he was getting ready to fight Ken Shamrock, I think the first time, and I knew that was coming up, and I brought something from my office. It was a little a card of Saint Michael the Archangel and that prayer on the back, and it has it with the sword and all that. And hey, man, this here's a prayer for you for your fight coming up. And then and
He blessed me like the priest in Rocky.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. So give him a little blessing, and I gave him that. And but the most memorable part for me, was that the look in your eye when I did it.
Yeah.
Because I see you're always nice and stuff like that. It wasn't that, but it's a look I never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And it was how do I describe it? I can't fully describe it to give it due honor, but it was appreciation, it was humility, and like a genuineness type thing. And so that's what I remember. And that meant a lot to me, you know, to do that. And I said, and then I go, he really appreciates this. And that, you know, that made my day. That was good. And then you won that fight, which was good. Yeah. Cause then I'd have to hide if you did.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You should have blessed my ankles. You forgot that part.
Yeah. I should have. Yeah. And then another thing that
he only gave me the half blessing.
Yeah.
Pool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, I was, and this is my joke, but I was slightly disappointed because in Rocky, when he when he gets the blessing, he turns to someone and says, I love when he does that. You didn't say that. You know? Yeah. No, but I'm kidding. But and then after that, it turns out we have a mutual friend who used to own a coffee shop, Sam.
Yeah, Sam Masculinity.
And that's where I met Rocco, the guy that would help him with the boxing.
Yeah, Rocky Ciotoli.
And so I was friends with him. And then, so he would kind of update me, how's Don doing? The injury, he's doing okay, doing it. And I would say, hey, tell Don I said hi. So we kind of stayed in contact that way through Rocco. And so, yeah, so that was my connection, man, you know? And especially, you know, and the other thing too, is when Don was going through all his operations and all that thing, you know, I heard about it, but I didn't know how bad it was until I saw him do an interview after the fact. I forget, don't quote, it was either that,
Vlad
TV, I think.
Yeah.
And then you told him some of the more details, and I go, man, I didn't know it was that bad. But Rocco did tell me, hey, man, he's in a bad way. Just pray for him. But I didn't know any details, right? Until you said it, right? And then, you know, because of out of respect, I didn't want to start asking him all these questions, you know, anything. So I just, okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot, just like you're saying it, probably, Mike. I mean, a lot of people just didn't realize what all the stuff that Don was going through. I mean, Don was keeping it, you know, it's kind of part of his private life right there. And it was, I mean, if there was a frequent flyer program for backs, I mean, Don would be flying all over the place because he's had lots of operations and stuff like that. And you know, I would find about some of, you know, after the fact or something like that as well. And there's a couple times that I knew where he was at, that was close by. I went over to visit him a few times right there, because I mean, you know, once you're in there's nothing fun about sitting in a hospital bedroom. There's nothing there, because most time you're looking for anything to preoccupy your mind. And you know, other than seeing, you know, a nurse or something like that every now and then that comes in, you give you some medicine or some food or something like that. That's you don't have much interaction with people. So
and then on top of it, you know, the severity and the pain of all that stuff. I mean, I didn't realize all those things. And then so that interview, and then I saw on, you know, Tony was telling me about it. I saw the Vlad one first, but then I saw an older clip of your friend, the bodybuilder guy, Ken
Yasuda.
Him.
Yeah.
And he mentioned some of the others, and you were talking to him, and then, oh my gosh, you know, so I'm glad Rocco told me, and I said prayers and things like that, you know, for
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. You know, because that was I mean, that was, you know,
had a bad run. Yeah, it's a bad run.
You could have died on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that was bad. So anyway, yeah. So, you know, and I've always done that. And on occasion, I think I had your number from Rocco in the past too. And I would send you a little note. Hey, Merry Christmas or Happy Easter. Hope you're doing okay every once in a while. And, you know, just, again, not to be the fanboy. I don't want to do that, but out of respect and all that. And I've been a fan of UFC. The first I saw was Pride back in the day. Says, well, how come the priest was watching this as violent? I don't watch it for that. To me, it's a chess match.
Yeah.
And I'm watching what you guys do and how you counter things and what works. And you can see the bad matchup stylistic wise.
Right.
And then you see the ones that, oh, this is a good one, you know, because of, and so I look at it that way. I know there's injuries happen and, you know, blood and guts type thing, but you know, that's not what intrigues me is again, the chess match, that's how you do that. And then the crazy things you see, like, the one guy, the Mighty Mouse guy, what him?
Yeah.
When he jumped in the air and did a move and got a lock of some type, and then of course the weight pulled the guy down, and he had the lock, and it was over.
Yeah.
Who does that? Like who, you know, that kind of stuff. Or one of my favorites, Justin Gaethje too.
Yeah.
By the way, I went to school with his parents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were a year or two behind me in a school of 500 kids. You know everybody.
You know everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see them and all this, and I see Justin once in a while too. But anyway, when he did this one move, the round's almost over, and he's standing there facing, and he does a flip standing up, and as he flips over, he kicks the guy right in the face.
Yeah.
And then boom, and then but the round was over right when that happened. Who does that? Right?
Right.
Who does that?
Yeah,
You know?
you get one chance.
Yeah. So I grew up, and of course, like watching Don, I go, oh man, this guy's good, tough. Watching you, Dan, and your wrestling background, and like what I call some just manhandling people sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this guy, the wrestling. I think if I was to do this, I'd want to learn that kind of stuff first, because these guys are kicking everyone's tail. They're doing, and then I like Boss Root and watching him.
Yeah, he's
And
great.
guys like
He's
that.
great.
And I'm gonna leave people out because I don't remember, so I apologize. I'm not, but like that. And I love GSP, and of course Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
I know a
The
guy.
Nogueira brothers.
Yo,
They're always fun to watch.
those guys,
They're
yeah,
amazing. They're amazing.
amazing. And then another guy that I used to like his style. I know a guy who in town. I don't know if he ever went. I don't think he went professional, because he's actually in law enforcement. But he was about Cowboy Cerrone's size.
Yeah.
And similar style. And in sometimes, whether it's a real fight or on the street or whatever, someone who has those just nonstop, relentless striking moves, people don't want nothing to do with them.
No.
And for Rocco was telling me in the practice and in the gym that this 170 pounder, 60 pounder would whip people at over 200, because he's just one of those relentless guys, So, and again, watching how you counter that, I enjoyed watching, those types of things.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Well, Dan would just hold people down and bit slap them. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the strength,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Strength.
That's a grizzly.
Yeah.
Just a grizzly.
Yeah, as I say to Father Mike, I mean, I literally, I was only a one-trick pony. I was just the wrestler. I didn't really take no time out to learn anything about the boxing or actually the submission arts. I simply know that amateur wrestling moves incorporate the principles of leverage, because in amateur wrestling, folk style amateur wrestling, what we do here in the United States, the whole object is to put your opponent back on their back and then to pin them. Hold them down for those couple seconds and get the pinfall call. Well, typically that's usually at using principles of leverage. Another word for leverage is putting them in legalized pain. What moves and holds that they allow you to do with these cross faces and head levers and chicken wings and things of that nature. So I simply do that. Well, I could slap on the same moves, but I don't have to exactly do them legally now. I could do them illegally, knowing that they hurt. They hurt when they're legal. I'll make it hurt just a little bit more, turn it illegal. So
yeah, and I know that's so true. I remember in high school, I didn't wrestle. I just played football, basketball, and I did weightlifting. And there were some guys that one was around my size, but one was a lot bigger. In fact, Justin Gaethje's dad, and they wrestled, right? His dad wrestled too. And I remember one of my friends, my age and about my size, in the weight room, I'd kill him in the weight room. Not that we competed, but I could lift way more than him and all the basic lifts. But he was a wrestler, and when he grabbed a hold of me, I could not get away, and it hurt.
It made you believe in God, huh?
Yeah, it did. It did. And the same with Justin's dad. What he tried to get me to come out to wrestling, but it just wasn't my thing. I didn't. But he also, I go, well, show me some stuff, and he says, okay, I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm just gonna, sometimes you're at the beginning when you're just kind of,
right.
I call it hand fighting.
Fighting, yeah.
He grabbed a hold of me, and I could not get out of that just with one hand, and me with all my whole body trying to use everything good, and it hurt like and I'm thinking, okay, great respect for the wrestling, and I know, Don, you did judo as well, and a lot of those moves and the leverage and all that too. You don't realize how strong yeah. So again, a lot of respect for that,
Well, like a late great judo Gene LaBelle, his thing is every time you touch somebody, you hurt them.
Oh yeah.
Just grab hold of them, you hurt them, whether it's the neck, the hand, the arm, you making sure they know you were there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, it's not for everyone. I've never been an aggressive type person like that. And, as a kid and growing up, whenever I got in a fight or something like that, it was always the last straw. And I would be incredibly mad, or else I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And that's just been my nature. You know, I just can't, unless and then who wants to be that mad? You know, I don't, I don't, want to, so I know other guys can go do those kind of things and then, but there's no anger. That's just the, you know, the sport or whatever, but I can't do that kind of, and unless I'm just, okay, I have a very long fuse and to get to the end of that. And if you know, so that was never me, but I appreciate it as a sport. And again, I look at it as a chess match, watching the counter. And, yeah.
I said all the time that the competition is nothing more than a chess match where checkmate hurts. That's all. That's just the difference, you know.
Yep.
But there's a great deal of strategy that comes with it, especially since the sport has evolved so much. You've got, you know, you might come from one particular discipline now, but in order to compete, you have to be well-rounded. So if you come from a wrestling background, you still need to know how to strike because the match starts on your feet to at least get into where you get your clinches and things of that nature. Then you need to know something about the submission game. So you know, a lot of people try to say this discipline, you know, is better than that discipline, but the reality is, I think recently there was a chart posted, and it showed that most of the current champions come from the original sport of amateur wrestling.
Yes.
But they still had to learn additional things of, you know, submission skill, just like you do in judo, jujitsu, and that. But then they also had to learn some striking arts. Boxing, the old people say it's always boxing. What? No, boxing or Muay Thai, or, you know, because boxing only uses your hands. Then you got Muay Thai uses elbows, knees, and so there's just different parts of you know, kickboxing that you can incorporate into it, because you see matches that are won by incredible kicks.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you guys about too. I never understood this because I remember in junior high we would do different sports and do different things in physical education class, right? And one time we did wrestling, and I accidentally hit someone with my knee, and it hurt so bad. And you see these Muay Thai guys, all these knees and kicks. I go, it hurts so bad. I don't. How do you do that? It hurts. It hurts you to do that.
It's like a callus. You just build up a callus.
Yeah. So you know, the Muay Thai. Yeah, that's nasty. And then there's some fights that are just Muay Thai matches.
Right.
And I don't know how those guys keep going.
Not only, but also on that, the bad part, you'll see a guy that throws a wicked shin kick or something like that, and then breaks their leg in the process. The opponent does a shin check, and wow, you just all of a sudden you see the ankle foot just flop around, and like going, oh my god, that just kind of gross just to watch that.
And you guys both being involved in that, the pain level. I mean, you can't, unless something's broken. I don't see you guys squinting and making all these faces and stuff, but then they say, yeah, 2 weeks later, you're still hurting after the fight, you know, and how did you guys handle that? I mean, that you just build up the tolerance, or because I don't know if my job entailed that. I don't know if I could do that, you know.
Well, after all that wrestling, man, I mean, wrestling's like being a street fight for 2.5 hours every day of your life, you know? And after doing that, you pretty much do anything.
Yeah. There was a couple times that after, if I went to like a match in Japan or something like that, I've been kicked so many times in the legs that, and by the, you know, usually by the next day or two, you got to jump on an airplane. I was worried about blood clots, stuff like that, to where it's like going, okay, I would take an aspirin. I always travel with like a baby aspirin or something like that, just so that I know that I'm getting on there. It'll help thin out the blood, so that if something like that happened, it should help prevent it from happening. So I just did certain things from just out of precaution.
You play in a band?
Yeah, you know, I don't. My dad played bass and guitar.
Yeah.
Growing up, he was in bands, and my mom also played the drums.
No shit.
From 19 years old to 22, she was in an all-girl rock band, and they toured the Southwest. Yeah, and so I always had music and in my family, and I always liked it. And then I didn't really pick up an instrument until I was 17 years old myself.
Yeah.
And I learned guitar a little bit, and then after, and then I ended up always playing bass lines on the guitar. So then I tried the bass, and then that's what I play. So, I played on a CD. And the music I like is, I call it a show off music, because it requires it's the genre is called jazz fusion. So it's a combination of the sound of rock or funk with the jazz musicianship.
Right.
So it's complicated to play. Not everyone can play it. It's kind of, but it has those rock grooves or the funky grooves, but it's complicated orchestration, and a lot of guys just can't play it because of it's difficult, right? It's difficult to play.
Right.
So I liked it and I enjoyed playing that. So that's the kind of music that I played. It's most and it's not limited to this genre because they're within the genre. There's different types, but like guys like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, that kind of stuff. I don't know if you've heard of those guys. It's
No, I'm actually wondering. Okay, is that because you're instead of just strumming all of the strings, is it because you're picking all of the individual strings? Is that how it differs, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's more complicated. For example, the chords are not your basic chords. They're more complicated chords. The rhythms, the timing, people just hear 1, 2, 3, 4. Most songs are kind of that beat. This is like in 7/8 and 16/5 and all these weird time signatures. So it's more complicated.
Your amplifier goes up to 11, right?
Yeah, it goes, of course it does. Yeah, it goes to 11. Yeah, but it's just more complicated music, and it requires a certain, for lack of a better term, virtuosity to be able to play it. It's not just basic stuff. It's the complicated rhythms and structures, etc. Just like you get a guy who plays guitar, ask him to play with an orchestra and this complicated, very fast, rapid music, be able to read that music and to play it at that speed and it's just more complicated. So, and I really, really like it because it has to do more with musicianship than anything else, So I've been playing like that for a long time. And
Was there at any point in time that you got a chance to play with your father and mother as well? I mean,
no, I never got it. We never got to play together with them, but with just other musicians in town. And, I went to graduate school in California, so I got to meet a lot of musicians there. They don't know me. I just met them. I got to meet them when they played. And there's a lot of very popular musicians who, their money gig is that, band. Like I met a lot of the guys in the group Toto, Africa, Hold the Line, Rosanna, those songs, right?
Right.
All those guys play on all these albums, and whatever you see them in concert, it's really good and entertaining. They can play way better and above that in that jazz fusion that I play, circle, and they play in that. A lot of people don't know, half the band played on Michael Jackson's Thriller album, and Quincy Jones, the producer, called them in and says, "Here's the basic song." Well, they actually rearranged everything and did it how you hear it on the album, right?
Right.
And that's what they were paid to do. So I got to meet like the guitarist Steve Lukather, the drummer who died, Jeff Porcaro, David Page, all these guys. And then you look, this guy played on 3,000 albums.
Wow.
From Barbra Streisand to the fusion stuff I like, to rock bands, to the Tubes, to Paul McCartney, all because they can go and they would hear a basic song and they would make it their own thing and add to it and basically arrange it, So I got to meet a lot of those guys, and that was really a eye-opening thing. And there's so many that I met, so many that I met that do that. But these guys can play the stuff that I play, and they play way better than me too, by the way. And plus their money gigs, like playing for Toto, stuff like that. So it's good that I was able to meet a lot of these musicians and who are like your musical heroes, right? Because how good they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I met on an airplane, met Mark Stone from Queensrÿche.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good guy. Yeah, we sit there, talked the whole time.
Yeah.
Was that just an accidental, seating assignment there, Don? Where you just okay?
Just sat down next to him. Yeah, just
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're chewing away.
Wow. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I mean, jumping on airplanes. I mean, half the time you try to be polite, just to simply say hello to the person there next to you, and you try to chime in a little bit of idle conversation just to find out what their background is or something like that. So no, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's I've enjoyed it. I still play. I still try to keep my chops up, my abilities, and I still listen to a lot of music. And when I'm free, one of the things I'll go on YouTube and just watch a bunch of concert footage or a bunch of musicians and stuff like that. So I still enjoy it. Yeah.
Do you take your use your bass drum when you exercise people?
No, no, I don't. I don't. No, I don't. No.
Get the hell out of them.
I might scare them. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's get into that.
Well, so I was asked if I'd be willing to, but the reason I was asked is um for like 30 years, a lot of times I'd get a call where people are experiencing, weird stuff at their house, and they would call me, and I'd be the one that always said yes, I'd go. So
Yeah.
word spreads, and then the official guy that we have here in our church, I'd call him for advice, so then when it came time to have more people that we need to do that type of exorcism ministry, I was asked if I would help with that. So I did the training, and I just finished the training. So, but in my
How
previous,
long does it take?
well, there's it was a whole year, but in break it up. It's not every day, obviously. So there was 4 10-day sessions for that.
Yeah.
I traveled to a place outside of Chicago for that, and there was another 50 60 guys with me from around the country, all priests that we did the training, and we training, and then there's people are in spiritual need, and when it's the real deal, we have to respond to it. So it's really a ministry of mercy, helping people get out of their spiritual problems that they're in. And
What was this? Excuse me for interrupting,
sorry.
Father. But was this before the movie The Exorcist
Yeah,
came
no,
out, or after
after,
the fact?
yeah,
Yeah,
after,
that the movie The Exorcist kind of scared a lot of people there just to
yeah,
see something like that take place. It's like, oh, wow.
yeah,
And know that you went in and did something like that. I mean, was there any
well,
real freaky type of thing that you ever
well,
encountered with that?
okay. Well, first of all, I just finished the training, so I haven't officially done anything yet, but we're in the process of assisting the official. There's a head guy, right, that does it. So eventually I'll be helping him with these. But before the training, I did, there's no such, I don't believe in coincidence. So it happened for a reason, but I've seen it a couple of times, so I know what it looks like. And because of the protection I received when you quote stumble into that, right? And my experience and how I experienced the protection of the Lord, for that reason, I wasn't afraid. Now it's startling, et cetera, et cetera. And you feel and experience things that are, it's evil. So in your face, not the thought of evil, or it's right there. So, because of the protection I felt, it's not any personal virtue, but because of that, that's why I'm not afraid. And I says, well, if need be, I can do this to help people. So, so I was asked by leadership to maybe help. And so, yeah, so I haven't done anything officially yet, but I know what it looks like. I've seen it. And
you can talk about it.
What questions do you have? Yeah.
Well, tell us the story.
Okay. Well,
do they all look like Dan Severn?
No. No.
Well, again, I'll actually ask a little more specific question
Sure.
on that. I mean, being in that area, and when you first, thought of going at this area, would you say that do you think that there's more evil now in our world compared to, say, a few years back, 5 years back, 10 years back?
Excuse me, I gotta see a man about a horse.
All right, no problem.
Yeah. Well,
no, I would say I don't think there's any more evil now than back at the time of Jesus. But what I think is, for the most part now, the one where the evil was hiding, it's not hiding anymore. It's in our face. I mean, just watch like the Academy Awards or the Grammys. And there's people out there in their routines and their musical parts,
yes,
with overt, plain for all to see, satanic imagery, words, actions, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the difference now is that it's more out in the open. They're not hiding like they did as much as before. And
Right.
and because of that, I think, and then I think the world is turned in many places more pagan, turning away
No,
from,
I
yeah,
agree with you on
yeah.
that. Well, let me interrupt you 1 second. I
Okay,
mean,
sure.
I'll say that technology, before communication was not as easy.
Yeah.
With the passing of time, technology, it just has grown. I mean, there were times back then that the newspaper or the telegraph, there's just different modes of communication have expedited um, news and media. Now things can happen on the other side of the earth, and we'll know about it in mere seconds because someone will do a Facebook post about it, or they'll use this technology that we have here right now, and who knows what the next level of technology is going to be that's going to be even faster yet. And without having guidelines to it,
Yeah.
it's easy to exploit, whether it be exploited for good
Sure.
or exploited for bad.
Yeah, that's true. And it's ready to be available because of that technology. Anyone can find all this stuff now and get into those, occult type things, satanic things on their phone or on their computer at home, right now, instantly.
Yes.
So what we've seen is an uptick of the need for exorcists and people in deliverance ministry, because not everything requires the formal rite of exorcism, meaning when a person is actually possessed. Some are lower stages when it's not in them, but it's bothering them from the outside. And the majority of what we do is that. It's rare
Mhm.
that someone is fully possessed needing the formal rite of exorcism. However, that being said, even though it's rare, there's an uptick in it. So that's why there's more people being trained to help with that type of thing. So yes, I think there's the same amount of evil that existed always, but there's the increase in paganism and rejection of God, and then the availability at your fingertips for anyone to explore these types of things, and that readily available at their fingertips on their phone or on the computer contributes to more people being curious and looking into these things. At the same time, turning away from any uh, relationship or belief in God and going to all these other realms. So there's an uptick in it, and that's why there's more of us doing this type of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's a lot of people are just looking for that instant gratification because they can see it, they can touch it, they can
Yeah.
whatever right now, and you know, utilizing something like faith and stuff like that. Say it, I look at all that the same way as how do you want to be successful? You have to pull out a piece of paper. You have to set some goals for yourself. You have to not only do you have to set some goals for you, but you have to put in a plan of action. So again, there's similarities to everything. I mean, it's people could be good, people could be bad.
Yeah.
It's what you surround yourself with. It's what you do. You
Yeah.
know, I always tell people that if you want, I get in trouble all the time. Well, maybe you should hang out with some different people. That might be a good start there for you. Just hanging out with different people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's just like what you saying before at the very beginning of that, how you've lost weight and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Did anyone tell that to you, or did you just did it for yourself? You didn't. It so everyone. There's a lot of people on Facebook right now. It's because it's like this. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. And they're thinking, if you can help inspire people, knowing that I'm just an average Joe. I wanted to lose some weight, and thus I did something about it. I had to start slowly because
Yeah.
who wants to join the gym and start doing these hour and a half, 2 hour type workouts? No,
Yeah.
you don't. You got to ease. It's like
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go swimming right now, but I'm gonna put my big toe in that water just to find out is it cold or
Yeah.
is it good to jump into?
Yeah, we have to definitely change things, I think, and not just, go on a diet. Most people do diets to gain it back. So I had to
Yeah.
change. I had to change and some things, and I did it gradually. So I would, I don't want to do it too fast, and then so gradually. And so yeah, in fact, I want to do another 10 pounds actually. So yeah.
Well, I mean, well, at the beginning of the year, we're in January. Typically, when you look at what's one of the biggest New Year's resolutions is lose weight, get in shape, because we've had October, all kinds of Halloween candy.
Sure.
We've had November, we've had Thanksgiving, where we're gobble, gobble, gobble down. And then you go right into Christmas and New Year's, where again, there's probably another 10, 20,000 calories that we've been throwing in our body.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to say, yeah, I got a little chubby along the way there. So now I got to the first of the year. It's always that lose some weight, get in shape in the gym industry. You know, I mean, they depend upon that.
Oh yeah,
But
they do. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to ask you about back to the exorcism part. You shared a story with me earlier the other day about this
Yeah.
little girl. I don't know, can you
Yeah, just
sharing that?
Yeah, I'll just tell you something. Again, just something that I saw that by not knowing what was anything what this was about. It just, again, I don't believe in coincidence, so I use the word I stumbled into them, but it was for a reason, right? And just talking to someone and trying to help them as best you can. And then after about 10 minutes of that, they changed their voice and their their
the whole demeanor.
the whole demeanor, and their head was down, and when they looked up, there was no white in the eye. And so, and then what we in our circle,
What color was it?
all dark.
Yeah.
Not completely black, but it was like a person that has dark brown eyes. It was all just, and that's impossible, right? So, and then the voice change and all that type of thing. So, and then what came out next was not the person I was talking to. So, and then engaging that until we can get the official person. Again, I wasn't trained or anything, but I knew a little bit. And then so seeing that, and then there's some other things that happened too with different people that I quote stumbled into, and but feeling again, experiencing and knowing and feeling the protection of God in the midst of that. I said, okay, well, this is unpleasant and startling, but I know I can do it because I know who won already. I know who wins, and eventually this thing's going to be gone. So, and so in the name of Jesus, it all is brought to a head and cast out. So, experiencing and seeing that, and then again, having mercy and helping a person in this terrible situation. That's my only thing I think about. It's not about anything. There's nothing dramatic or entertaining about it, right? Although in the movies they use, they scare you, entertainment, and that, no, it's not. There's someone that needs God's mercy and needs God's help to get out of these chains, and so that's how I look at it and try to help. But that experience and seeing that, you just know, it's like people will just say, well, aren't those people just all crazy? Yeah. And then I always say this, and I reflected on this. So, psychologists have this book called the DSM-5, and 5 just means it's the 5th edition. So they add to it, right? Right. It has all the mental illnesses in it with their symptoms. It doesn't say, in diagnosis, it doesn't say how they treat it, but it says every mental illness under the sun and what are the symptoms of it. What does it look like? You will not find one mental illness that has the following as the symptoms. And these are the things we see when someone is truly possessed. Okay. Knowledge of things there's no way they could know. Or let me give you an example. Hypothetically, say I was 5 years old. We're in a barbecue at my grandmother's house. I run inside to use the restroom. There's the closet. I know she hangs her purse in there and there's money in her wallet. No one's in the house but me. I go in the closet, close the door. No one's in the closet with me. I take out $20. I put it in my pocket. I look out. No one's there. I use the restroom. I go back outside. The person possessed knows I did that and they tell me. Okay. There's not one mental illness where that's one of the symptoms. Secondly, when they have knowledge and fluency in a language they never studied. For example, if someone starts speaking ancient Greek and they never studied it or knew it, but they're able to do that.
Right.
That's another sign. If they have a strength beyond their age and ability, when you got a 10-year-old girl that was part of satanic ritual sacrifice and abuse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and there's 5 men that can't hold her down and she's flinging them around the room like rag dolls. That's a third symptom. And then a secondary symptom, which can also be present with mental illness, is disdain, aversion, hatred, disgust for anything to do with the holy. Okay. So when you see those things, that's how we know. And so, no, they're not all crazy if that's what's going on, because that's not a symptom of any mental illness, right? So when those say, oh, they're just all crazy and you guys are crazy for even trying to do X, when those are the symptoms, that's how you know. Mm-hmm. And there's others that are secondary symptoms that can add up and show too. But those are the main ones that we see. So when that kind of stuff is present, that's how we know. That's how we know. Yeah.
What about like people say like it gets cold? Is that real? Is that a real thing? Like
yes.
you could feel that? And...
Yes. The one of the first ones I stumbled into when I was first ordained was July. And I got my first, the art here when you're ordained, you sometime in May or June, and then in July, you have a couple of weeks off and you start July 1st. And it was 11:30 at night in July. So in Tucson, you know how hot it is.
Yeah, right.
It's 10 o'clock at night and it's 99 degrees, right? Or whatever. So, and I had to go to a house because a man called and he was hysterical and all this stuff's going on. I get to the house, I go in the house and, they had AC on. It was probably 75 in there or so. I go in the room and there's a little girl in there and there's things flying all around the room by themselves, books and sheets and all this stuff was bouncing. And it was probably, I could see my breath in that room. So one of the things that happens sometimes is that temperature change when this evil is present, the demonic is present. That's one of the things that we sometimes see. Now, it doesn't happen in every case. And all those things that can happen don't happen in every case, but sometimes that is one of them.
Well, why would that happen? Is there a reason that you guys have figured out?
I don't know the exact reason. It's something that's present when the demonic is present. It could get really hot too as well, so it's just one of.
I mean, there is that expression they always say it'll be a cold day in hell. I mean, but does that have something to?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it's just an expression, but
okay.
But that's one of the things that sometimes happens, that temperature change. And in blessing, I told you, like I used to get called to go bless houses, and 99% of the time they just wanted a blessing because it's a new house, but that every once in a while I'd have something like that happen where I seen you have knickknacks on the wall in a hallway, and if something falls down, it doesn't fly across the room and hit the other wall.
Right.
So seeing things like that, so there's something going on here, and usually just one blessing would take care of that. But on occasion, one time I had to go 6 times until it finally got rid of it.
Yeah. And
there's such thing as called an exorcism on a location. It's not in a person, but for some reason, sometimes we don't know why, but sometimes something very simple happened to that house. That had nothing to do with the cult, or it had to do with the occult. And so that means that demons were invited there. So they have to be disinvited. If it was the previous owners, had nothing to do with these people, but it's not gone. If it had the previous owners, if they're Catholic, they got to go to confession, they got to renounce it. And because otherwise it's still welcome. If they invited, it's welcome. So exorcism and blessings of houses, when there's crazy things like that, it's not a magic wand. If a person, if they're doing a bunch of bad stuff and they're not going to stop, it doesn't matter what IR or any other exorcist does. It's invited. It's going to, but if it has to do with those people, whether they knew about it or not, whether it's intentional or not, sometimes it's not even intentional. But once we discover the source, they have to reject it, and then we bless, and then it's gone, right? Because it's not invited. It has no claim to be there. So, but one time I had to do it 6, and finally I requested from my superiors to, because I wasn't official yet, but I had a request to do exorcism on location, and we did that. I think I went through the thing the right 3 times, and then finally it was gone. But in that one, yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happened, you know, in that one too, manifestations and things like that. So, but then it was gone, right? Because we know who won and who wins. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, on that note, I mean, would you like to put out some type of contact information if someone is experiencing, you
Oh,
know, would look for a house blessing
yeah.
or
Just, I would,
any of these types of blessings or something like that, or
well, wherever they
Or
live.
Dan wants buffet blessing.
Yeah. No, I would just say,
Father, Son, Holy Ghost, whoever
yeah.
eats the fastest gets the most. Yeah, there you go.
No, I would just say, you know, if you experience those types of things, if you're, you know, I mean, you got to be honest, you know, sometimes it has to do with our own behaviors. And if we're doing any mortal sins of serious nature, we got to stop. And if involved in any type of occult things, stop doing that. And then just call the local parish. And a lot of times, most of the time, it's minor enough where simple blessings will get rid of that with, you know, if it's stuff we're doing with our cooperation to stop doing those things, obviously. But if it's more severe, then you can call the local diocese, and almost every diocese has people assigned to help with these types of things, to investigate it, to look into it, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's the best way, because, you know, personally, I can't physically help someone, you know, that's not in my area because I don't live
Okay.
there, but every area has people designated to help with this and these types of situations. So that I would just, you know, call the local parish and start there. That's the best way to do it.
So you're down in Sierra Vista, Fort Chugga. You
Yeah.
got a lot of calls down there.
Yeah, we get calls for all kinds of blessings and prayers, you know, and every priest, you know, and every parish, you know, those things, that kind of things come up. And again, the vast majority do not require anything other than a simple blessing and prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Only rarely does it, you know, is there a need for more than that, you know, but the reason why there's more priest getting training for formal things, the formal rite of exorcism and deliverance and ministry prayer, is there's been an uptick of request for it. And
kind of like Ghostbusters, huh?
Yeah, so I guess you can say that, but yeah, there's more things happening and more requests for that type of help. And again, because of you know, like again, you know, people involved in occult and those types of things used to be more hidden.
Right.
Now, just watch the Grammys, Academy Awards, watch those types of programs and the dance routines, people with horns and devil and symbolism of satanic stuff in the open. They're not hiding anymore.
Right.
It's out in the open, you know. The access on the computer, if you want to explore those type of things, which, you know, we shouldn't, we get playing fire, don't even know it. But if right a tip, you go on your phone, get on the computer and look all these things up, and people get fascinated, and then they might get into spiritual trouble because of it, right?
Get trapped into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Shit.
But again, the main thing is all that, you know, the Lord's won, the Lord wins. There might be a battle to make these things leave, but that's the good news, right? It is the evil one does not get the last word.
Dan's impervious to any kind of you know, cult or anything like that, because they require a membership fee. You know?
So I'll never be involved in those cults now, will I?
No. You're safe.
And here I thought we were going to almost get through an entire episode without going kerching.
Well, I like how you guys tease each other. That's good though. And
no. It's
good friends do that, right? We tease each other.
Oh, he keeps me on my toes that way. He keeps me on my toes. That's why, you know, I might be going for my next career ballet, because that Don keeps me on my toes that much.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I get to cut a promo on him too, you know, just to stay in shape. You know?
Yeah.
He
I
looks
guess
at me
I missed my opportunity with Christmas time and becoming a part of the Nutcracker. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, but it happens too with friends and family. We tease each other sometimes, and we bust each other's chops, right?
You got to, man. You got to.
Oh, it's a good way of just keeping each other honest, stuff like that. I mean, I like it there. I mean, it's just kind of, we should know that we're gonna bust each other's chops in the process right there, but we're also gonna be there for each other's back.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's the way, you know, that's good. That's good.
I mean, Dan came down, when I was in the hospital all that time. He'd come down and visit me, I mean, he gave me the gas bill, but
Yeah.
at least the time was free.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. But I
I
like,
thought I was ahead of the times there, Mike, by delivering Chipotle and stuff like that. As I go on, I don't think the meal services were even happening. I think people learned that from me as I go down and nice
had
across.
several bites.
Everyone's got these meal services things.
yeah.
He'd eat
Yeah.
half of it,
Yeah. Like,
Well,
like,
I didn't want it to be like poisonous or something like that. I was thinking of you, Don. I was just thinking of you.
every time
You know?
somebody says that, I think of the movie Forrest Gump when he sits down at the bench and starts telling the stories, and he has, a box of candy for Jenny. And after all the stories and all the people he sees, when he finally gets to her house, he goes, "Here, Jenny." And then he says, "I ate some." Right? Yeah. Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I mean that again. You're talking about that's a
We did.
classic. That's a classic
Yeah.
movie that people should
Yeah.
see. It's
Oh,
because
yeah.
it tells a lot of good stories to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's funny how they tie in,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the presidents and all the history in
Oh,
it. It's a
yeah.
funny movie.
Yeah.
You know,
That's great.
very
Well, actually, I think on that note, there, unless I mean, honestly, what I was asking you about before, in case anyone wanted to get in contact with you, if you had any kind of like a social media, if someone had any particular questions or something like that, that they could ask you specifically about something. I that's why I brought that on up there.
Yeah.
But you said that you you should be know that depending on where they live, that
Yeah.
they need to go to their local.
Yeah, just go. Yeah, it's best to go to. I mean, physically, if they don't live anywhere in my area, it's hard for me to physically go and
Okay.
help them or anything like that. But that's why I said the best thing to do is, if they're having any kind of issues in their home like that, or themselves, if they're experiencing anything personally, to just go, especially if they're Catholic, to go to the closest church and say what's going on, and that priest will help as much as possible. Or if it's beyond that, or they need something more, it's a more serious nature, then that local leadership that priest can help get it. There's someone designated to help with the more serious cases, and that's the best thing to do. And if they're in Southern Arizona, they can just they can call me. I don't know if we put something later on there to have
Yeah,
contact.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tony will be able to do
Tony,
that.
yeah.
Towards
this
the
stuff-
end of the episode.
Does it start off small,
Yeah.
like a book falling off the shelf, or do they come and kick the door down?
All the above.
Yeah,
It's all the above. Yeah, it's all all the above happens. Sometimes it's
like
little,
getting married to a woman, and then also she was crazy,
I don't know. It's your,
robbed you blind.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not my fault. She was possessed. I exercised her. God, I wonder.
Well,
Yeah.
I could actually probably relate to a demonic obsession that happened to me just relatively recently. And there's a combination of having navy bean soup and followed up with bean dip on top of that. Within the hour, I mean,
Yeah.
I was possessed.
Yeah. Yeah. And if anyone was near you, they
Oh no! I mean, nobody was near me because of the. It was they were all watery eyed, and it was kind of like cloudy in the room.
Dog turned his back on him.
Yeah.
So, I'll simply say that on that note, I think that Father Mike really enjoyed getting a chance to chat there with you. Hopefully, one day I'll actually get a chance to meet you and shake your hand.
Yes,
and unless anything else there, Mr. Fry. I'll simply say I bid you adieu.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you, Father.
God, I thought he'd never leave. Oh, it's so there. Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.